Marner in a sign and trade deal with the Golden Knights? That's one rumor that's circulating today. More ahead on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. I am Tony Cardasco, longtime sportscaster, play-by-play man, and marketing consultant. He is Chris Golick, the owner of Silver State Cards and Sports and Collectibles editor of the Hockey News. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every day. Of course, make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. Coming up ahead on today's show, in addition to Marner's sign and trade, that's a possibility. Who would VGK send to Toronto for Marner? And of course, our daily conference finals updates. One half of the equation is filled. The other one perhaps will be filled tonight. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. First, the rumor mill spinning fast, really fast right now. Number one topic, Mitch Marner to Vegas and VGK. The good doctor yesterday, Frank Saravalli, checks in once again. He's really busy in this off season for the Golden Knights. Part of the PR staff, perhaps, who knows? But he said that the Golden Knights look like the best bet for Mitch Marner, who scored 102 points, as we know, was a career best this past season. Something we thought of this week, we talked a lot about something that could happen. If the Maple Leafs let Marner walk out the door as a free agent, they would get absolutely nothing in return. So it seems like a good option right now, a sign and trade deal, perhaps. Right now, a lot of smoke is out there, Chris. It seems like a good option to be signing Marner. The only team we hear about are the Golden Knights as a free agent option for Mitch Marner. So things are definitely heating up.
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe a little more meat on this bone than, on Monday, on Marner Monday and Marner Tuesday when we first started talking about this. And is it going to happen? I don't know. I mean, I feel like every day that goes by, it feels like it's a little closer to happening. The sign and trade makes sense for both teams if this happens. Starting on the Toronto side, they get a return. They get some type of return for Marner instead of nothing, as you alluded to. On the Golden Knights side, or any team that possibly executes a sign and trade, you have this worked out before free agency starts. You know exactly where your team sits. The deal is made. The pieces go the other way. More in segment 2 about who might go the other way if this Marner sign and trade does happen. But you're set going into free agency, and you're not going to get into a bidding war. There's a very good chance that there's more than 2 or 3 teams that knock on the door for Mitch Marner, and all of a sudden a surprise team enters the equation. I think people were kind of surprised last year when the Nashville Predators signed Steven Stamkos in the offseason, kind of caught people by surprise. And also Stamkos, I think, hit 1 or 2 million even over his AFP projection or something crazy like that, if I recall. So you never know what happens when free agency starts. And I think every general manager would like as much control as they could possibly have.
Yeah, and it's getting really interesting. And yes, we've talked about a possibility of some sort of a return because, again, it was really big news this season. Marner turned down the deal for Mikko Rantanen, and because he would not waive his no trade clause. And I don't know if that was him just playing a game. There's also a lot of talk about sign and trade. What are the benefits of a sign and trade for Mitch Marner? Like one of the things is they're talking about perhaps an 8-year deal, and maybe he doesn't want that long of a term because he feels as though he has another big contract after this one.
I mean, like I said, it comes down to control for both parties. Right now, Marner would have a voice. He's going to have a voice no matter what, whether there's a sign and trade that happens on or before July 1st or afterwards if he goes to free agency. He has the ultimate decision in all of this right now, which he's earned. That's what his contract allows him to do. Very surprising that he did waive that no trade to go to Carolina, considering he was going to come up in free agency, but he also thought that might have hurt his value personally. So, I mean, who knows what would have happened had that have happened. Crazy to think that the Leafs wanted to trade him before the playoffs were going to start, but I also understand the return in Rantanen and everything. Golden Knights, I mean, like I said, you don't want this. You don't want a bidding war. You don't want to get into a bidding war right there. And that would be the number one reason why the sign and trade makes sense for any team that is going to enter the Marner sweepstakes. So curious to see how the whole thing plays out. And, I had an article up here. I think, let me see if it's still here. Editor and Leaf. They think it would help Marner's reputation a little bit because he would be doing the organization a favor. Because Marner put the ink on the pen, has to sign the contract. If Marner doesn't sign the sign and trade, there is no sign and trade. So Marner, of course, maybe a lot of people in Toronto feels like he did them a little bit dirty. The Leafs fans saw what Rantanen was doing in the playoffs. I say he was. I think he's scoreless in the Edmonton series, if I'm not mistaken, right now. So
he hasn't scored it forever now.
Yeah. So it would help Marner maybe let him ride into the sunset with a little more face, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't there has to be some sort of loyalty in there. I think that's the best option for all.
The argument is loyalty. That's why he stayed. That's an argument right there.
Yeah. He did not speak to the team about the contract over the course of the season. He did turn down.
With that.
He did not want to waive his no trade clause, and here we are. But this would be something I think that's good for the fans in Toronto.
Can you think of, Tony, I'm going to cut you off and ask you a question. Can you think of free agents in the last 5 years that hit like Mitch Marner, as far as 100-point player, upper 90s point player, every single season is there? And I can't think of one. So this is unprecedented right now.
It truly is. And, it seems as though there's Marner and then the rest of the pack in free agency. We're not talking about a lot of other players here.
There's some good ones, but definitely not an that
caliber.
Player.
Yeah, not an elite player. And we knew that McCrimmon, we haven't heard anything from the VGK side, but we knew that he would be in the mix because, again, the teams that it is his job, but the teams that are prominently mentioned are West Coast Pacific Division teams. And he has to be involved no matter what. Regardless, he has to have that conversation because you don't want him going to Anaheim or to the LA Kings.
Or drive the value up if he does go to Anaheim or the LA Kings or the Seattle Kraken or Utah. And, I know it's not the same division, but it's close.
Yeah, but it's very close. Later on Wednesday, Darren Dreger said that if the Leafs are still interested in Marner, they could have some sort of a discussion on July 1st. But at the pace that it's going right now, it doesn't appear as though we're going to get to July 1.
It's uglier than Marchessault's situation.
It's crazy, right? I think, I wonder if he's already, have they cleaned out their house already? Who knows?
You think they're going to defer payments, offer him defer payments until 2040?
2040's terrific year. Sign and trade, 8 years is the discussion. 8 years. Marner camp, they might want that shorter term and another deal, according to Dreger. And so do we think that Marner, July 1st, is out there in the open market? Do we have numbers?
Toronto has anything to do with it because the sign and trade perspective.
Sign and trade is so appealing for the Maple Leafs. Why wouldn't you do that? And why wouldn't he want an eighth year? Is there a mega difference between 7 and 8 years for term? I would want the security of 8.
Austin Matthews signed a deal that was a head scratcher. He signed a 4-year deal as his last extension with the Leafs at $13.25 AAV. So you wonder if he would do something like that and then go for a big one. But Austin Matthews, when this contract expires, he's currently on, he'll be 30 or 31. So I don't know. We
do have a show alert, a special guest coming up next Wednesday, and that will be Kyle Stitch from AFP Analytics, because we're so curious, and we've been talking to the fellows there and for the past couple of weeks, and now they want to come on the show, and so we'll do that next Wednesday, a special edition. I'm very curious to see what goes into finding all these analytics for the salary and for the term. They do a terrific job. Coming up next, who would VGK send to Toronto in a sign and trade deal? Stay with us right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. The NBA Finals are just about here. Let's hope that the Knicks can extend that series. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major blowouts. Did I say that? There's a lot of momentum shifts. There are a lot of blowouts. If you have a side, man, you've been coasting for the most part. And whether it's a game-winning shot, which we haven't seen much of, or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get into the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props. They have performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and to win really big. And of course, you could take a look at which players are showing up in the biggest moments. How could tracking their trends help you build a lot of money and the next bet? And again, they have the same game parlay. Take a look at that. And if you've got a read on who's heating up, of course, that is the route to go with the same game parlay. And of course, there's a $200 bonus in bets that adds to the excitement with just a first $5 bet. If that hits, you win the 200 clamolas. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first bet. Again, $5. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. We zipped through that first segment there, Karlsson. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to Locked On Golden Knights, our YouTube channel, which is on fire right now. And of course, tomorrow, line up all of your comments for WTF Day. That's going to be a lot of fun. Saturdays, sometimes, the young guns, Chris and Chris Jr. Well, one's a young gun. The other one is a old head, maybe, perhaps. But
I just said the year 2040 earlier, and I asked myself if I'm going to be alive in 2040. So I'm at that stage of my life.
Don't do that. You'll be here. We'll be doing the show still. Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights.
The over
Not so
would definitely
golden.
hit there.
What might the return be for the Toronto Maple Leafs if we do see a sign and trade? No trade clauses. Again, keep in mind before we get into playing this game, no trade clauses currently for Eichel, Hurdle, Pietrangelo, and Stone. If VGK would be thinking of shopping the latter three, Eichel is protected, obviously. Hurdle, who knows? Pietrangelo, aging, and Stone's a real interesting case there. But they would have to put together a sizable package, right? They don't have a ton of assets there as far as draft capital for the Golden Knights. I'm guessing it would have to be 1 to 2 players that are in the mix that play on a daily basis, perhaps, right? And then one prospect. I use that term loosely. There's not a lot of prospects here in Vegas. And then some draft capital, for the future for Toronto. Would they go for something like that? And who might? Barbashev's name keeps coming up, but who might the marquee player be for VGK to send to Toronto?
So this is weird. Leverage, I always joke, is a heck of a drug in life. And yes, the Leafs hold the cards as far as Marner is concerned, but there's also the no trade clause. There's the fact that he's a free agent coming up. So teams know and understand that. So yes, they will pay a fair-ish price, but it's not going to be probably what the Leafs expect it to be. On the Golden Knights side, the Leafs know the Golden Knights' salary circumstances. So here's a review of where the Golden Knights sit. Right now, today, coming into the next season, the Golden Knights have $9.6 million to utilize in cap space. Now, that sounds like a nice number, but again, here's a reminder. Riley Smith, Brandon Saad, Tanner Pearson, Victor Olofsson, Jonas Rondbjerg, Cole Schwintz, Alex Holtz,
you gotta sign
Samsonov, Nick Hague. None of those players have contracts. So those are all zeros as far as the salary cap is concerned. So that 9 points, that $9 million, 7 or 8 million of that is gone, depending on which direction they go. So the Golden Knights are going to have to trade virtually as much AAV as they would possibly need to sign Marner to any, however it shakes out, whether it's a sign and trade with Toronto, whether they ship whatever happens, they need to trade, call it about $10 million of AAV away, assuming Marner hits somewhere between $12.5 and $13.5 million. So now the names whose names are coming up: Barbashev, number one, $5 million AAV. It makes sense. Barbashev is under contract through 27-28. Good.
He does have an 8-team no trade clause.
Yeah, and you wonder if the Leafs are on that. I mean, that would
Yeah.
be a real interest. I mean, it's probably a lot of Canadian teams or markets where, there's tax implications, so we don't know that. William Karlsson's name has come up. I'm shocked I'm the first one to say this, but William Karlsson's name has come up as a desirable piece to the Leafs lineup that would help set them in a different direction with a defensive-minded center.
10 teams, no trade.
For William Karlsson. Exactly. Yeah. So you wonder how that would play out.
The thing about it, you can't find what the teams are, as much research as we've done here.
Two other names I would throw out there, Nicholas Waugh.
You like getting rid of Waugh. You think you think he's definitely a part of it?
I think Waugh would be part of the deal.
2 players? Would he be the additional piece?
Yeah, he might be the one that puts it over the edge, like the cherry on top. And I say Waugh instead of Howden for a couple of reasons. One, Howden just got that extension. Howden's deal is amazing for the team, assuming Howden is still a 15-goal scorer. Forget 20-goal scorer, a 15-goal scorer for the next few seasons. But Howden can play center. Howden can play wing. Nick Waugh can play center. Nick Waugh cannot play wing.
Center. Nick Waugh can play center.
Nick Waugh can play center. He cannot play wing.
No,
Howden can play both.
Nick Waugh can play center. Nick Waugh can play center. It's about it.
Okay. So
limited skill set. Okay.
And then the other name I'll throw out there, Zach Whitecloud. Whitecloud is under salary at 2.75 until 27-28. So some combination, let's just say Barbashev, $5 million. Nick Hague, not Nick Hague, Zach Whitecloud, 2.75. Now we're at 7.7 million. William Karlsson is $6 million. That gets the Golden Knights to 13 million. Nick Waugh is $3 million. That gets the Golden Knights to 10 million. So
they don't have to worry again. They don't have to worry about an Eichel extension until a year from now.
They don't have to worry about that. One, but yes, 100%.
Yes, but they're not. Yes, they can finagle the books.
The Golden Knights aren't worrying about 2 years from now. They're worrying about winning a cup in 25-26.
That's exactly right. So I would go all in if I'm VGK, and then of course the expansion of the salary cap, coming up for that second year. And what do you think some of the other assets might be in a sign and trade? What's tantalizing? Can they finally get rid of Connolly?
Draft picks always get attention, but the Golden Knights won't be drafting in the first round until 2027, so we can drop that. The Golden Knights do got a healthy dose of second and third picks in the next three drafts. One in each, and then they have 2/3 in 2027. So there is some draft cap, but you do have some players in Henderson that could have some moderate appeal, starting with a Trevor Connolly, obviously. Even a Lindbaum, although I don't want Lindbaum to go anywhere, he would have appeal. Luke Cormier had a cup of coffee in the NHL a couple seasons ago, had some injuries. He could have some value. So, and there's other, Cal Ritchie and stuff like that. There's other, there's younger players that are working their way up. So there could be some younger stock, but the Leafs will go for that as a, like the movie Draft Day, like that last gut punch to get a deal done. I don't think the Leafs are interested in any type of. You still got Austin Matthews right there. You still got William Nylander. You got core players that will help your team possibly win a Stanley Cup. So they're looking for assets now. They're not going to be they're not going to be saying, "Give us Trevor Connolly or this deal ain't going to happen." I don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting, and for the VGK, they need to put together a big package. Again, we've had some sort of discussion about the potential for a trade partner as well. Do you think that could still be in play?
It definitely
Marchessault to Toronto somehow.
Marchessault back to Toronto. Somehow the Golden Knights are involved in it. Marchessault's a Golden Knight for 30 seconds, and then
Could you imagine? Well, yeah, you can retire a Golden Knight potentially. Okay, coming up next, we get to, of course, the the conference finals. One half of the equation is already settled. The other one could be, of course, the Panthers are in, and tonight the Oilers could set up that rematch. Back with more right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights from Vegas, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. Tony, sign and trade Cardasco. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. And then, of course, please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel tomorrow. WTF day around here, these parts. So get in all your comments today. So one half of the Cup final matchup is set. And it's expected to start on Wednesday, June the 4th. But if Dallas wins, the first game will be on June the 7th. That would be next third. No, that again, it won't be for another 3 days after that. And of course, they don't do NBA and NHL on the same nights, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And so that could be happening here for the third consecutive season. The powerhouse Panthers are headed to the Cup final. Sixth straight season that a Florida team is in the final, which is unbelievable. And someone had a tweet last night that there's since 2019, it's been no income tax teams that have been in the Cup final. Pretty interesting, that have won it, I suppose, probably. So again, Tampa won three in a
maybe
row.
A topic for tomorrow, right there.
No tax, and of course, that's a huge appeal to Marner, hopefully. But yeah, so this is going to be pretty interesting here. Last night, the game winner, that Barkov goal behind the net, reverses and comes back the other way, gets the puck out to Carter Verhagen, and they took the lead there. And then late, there was a stupid penalty on Bennett, right, for the slash with 3 minutes to go, and Florida is able to ward off that 6-on-4. And out of the box, here comes Bennett and gets the empty netter, and that was it. And 2 goals off of faceoffs last night for Florida. They were a little bit lackluster. They trailed 2-0, but the Panthers prevail. So, man, I want to see the rematch. I really do. Is it really though? They have an additional day, so there'll be like 3 days between games. Is it really 7.5 hours from Miami to Edmonton? The flight? It's a pretty long flight. It's lengthy, if I remember from last year.
Are they taking the Concorde? That sounds like a pretty fast flight.
7.5 hours? Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever. It's going to be fun. I mean, I love the Florida dominance, number one, right? I mean, obviously being here in Vegas, we are a non-traditional hockey market. No one takes Florida as a traditional hockey market, and that's fair. I'm not knocking Florida. That's just the reality. So it's fun watching, people from Canada or people from traditional hockey markets just looking at Vegas, looking at Florida, looking Dallas and all these other markets that are doing well in warm weather climates and just absolutely running the NHL, I guess, right now. Call it what it is. So it's fun to see. The income tax thing. There's 2 things that I'm definitely pounding the drum for. One is some type of equality as far as the income tax states go with respect to the salary cap. And then, of course, LTIR finding a way to clean that up for all the teams a little bit and just level out the playing field. It's amazing to me in this, $1 billion plus industry, whatever the NHL is, that they can't find ways to level the playing field a little better. But when you have all this money involved, it makes sense. And
right.
Of course, there's more money to go to places like Florida and Vegas when it comes to salaries and such. So, yeah, good on the Florida Panthers. You had an interesting moment with Brind'Amour and Maurice after the game.
Interesting.
I guess Paul Maurice doesn't want to be a part of the handshake line, feels that is a moment for the players. And he gave a real good description of it post-game. Very, very passionate about just how he thinks it's a moment for the players. So I don't take any disrespect there. And I don't know why Brind'Amour at that moment is necessarily bringing that up, but that's, between the two coaches. And I'm sure they probably had a private conversation too.
Yeah, it didn't look as though they were extending
I think
pleasantries,
Brindamore
as I
was saying
put it.
that was not a sweep. And Paul Maurice is like, dude, we just walked you. Shut up. That's what I
Yeah,
thought
that's
was being said.
probably the way it went. But hey, you have to hand it uh, to the Carolina Canes there because they broke that losing streak in the conference finals.
Yeah, someone
They
posted
get
a
the
picture. They should have a
participation.
banner for that.
I saw the banner or
I saw that.
participation
That was good.
trophy, and this Florida team, they uh, they tied the 1981 powerhouse. Say powerhouse a lot today. New York Islanders team,
Oh,
fifth straight road game with 5 or more goals,
well,
and no one would touch the Prince of Wales trophy. Um,
whatever.
and Vincent Viola was out there, the owner. Of course, I like the guy. Why? Because he owns horses like Sandman and the Derby. That's his
Oh,
horse. Anyway,
that's
it's a
cool. I didn't know that.
two-horse race right now. It's going to be a two-horse race here. I had to get that in somehow. Tonight, we've
Preakness?
got two-horse race. It could be Edmonton and Florida.
Oh, I
Two-horse.
think the Preakness is coming up, isn't it?
That ran already.
Preakness ran already? Triple
Yes.
Crown's over?
No, we
Belmont's.
have the
Belmont.
Belmont Stakes. It should
Belmont's
be.
coming up. That's
It should
the longest
be.
race. That's right.
Yeah, it should be coming up next week. I guess
Gotcha.
on Saturday.
I got you.
Tonight, Edmonton can lock in the Western Conference side, leading Dallas 3-1. I go back and I can't recall who it was. And he said, hey, we don't, they had business at hand. They go, we don't want that long flight to go back to Winnipeg. So we need to eliminate them now. So maybe Dallas doesn't want to play and go back on another long flight to Edmonton. Who knows? The bad news yesterday, Zach Hyman undergoes surgery there for it says got to be his left shoulder. And how do they replace him? 11 points, really good. He was a plus 10 too, so very valuable player for Edmonton. And how do the Oilers pick up again that pace for him, fill in his place there?
Hyman, I believe, was a 50-goal scorer too a couple seasons ago. So I mean, that's
Awfully
pretty.
good.
You don't replace that in the playoffs. You don't. You just hope Evander Kane and Nugent Hopkins kind of pick it up a little bit, and then some more depth pieces. Reminds me real quickly about you mentioned about that long flight and everything. I think Coach Cassidy called on Phil Kessel to give some sort of speech before Game 5 when the Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup, and Kessel's like, we don't want to go back to Florida, so let's win this thing right now, in typical Phil Kessel, voice
Yeah.
and all that. So,
Oh
so
man.
apparently that was good enough to ignite the team for a 9-goal scoring outburst. But back to Edmonton, I mean, it's, you got to close out the Stars. Not going to be easy now without Zach
No.
Hyman. That could certainly make things a little more difficult for the Oilers, not just for the Stars series, but of course, if they're going to try and avenge their loss in last year's Stanley Cup final. Look at odds really quick. Dallas minus 134 to win the game. Dallas is at home. As far as Stanley Cup odds, minus 120 for Florida, plus 115 for Edmonton. Dallas Stars plus 1,400. We've had a shift in the Conn Smythe odds. Stuart Skinner has gone from plus 4,800, 48 to 1 to plus 5,000. So people are fading Stuart Skinner.
That's been the major talk.
That's I want to know where he's got to be top 3 at least if the Oilers win the Conn Smythe.
Absolutely.
Or win the cup, pardon me.
Yes, and for Chris
Draisaitl
Knobloch,
and McDavid.
oh my gosh, Knobloch yesterday, he feels that his team is ready to handle the situation. They're mature enough. You just have that look in McDavid's eyes.
McDavid doesn't lose 2 cups in a row. There's no way, is there? If they
I
get to
don't
the
know.
cup final?
We saw that look when he, was playing VGK. He's letting all the demons out, and he's definitely
He's getting a little spicy too. I
he's
like
on
it.
he's on a hey. What about the defense of Edmonton? I would love to just be in that presser at every presser there with McDavid.
He even shot me down. I asked him during the Golden Knights Stanley Cup year when they played the Oilers. I said, hey, talking about the possibility of you guys meeting in the playoffs, blah blah blah, and a lot of hockey to be played, but we'd love the chance to play against Vegas. You know how that goes.
Yeah, and we'll watch again tonight if anything happens. If there's some payback there, Rupe Hintz, Evan Bouchard, there slapping
Someone
a
got mad at me on our
splash
YouTube channel
on
for,
his
for, for
ankle.
chuckling at that. Like, come on,
That's
this is part of
funny.
the game, guys.
I
Deal with
know,
it.
but that definitely stung.
Of
We
course, it's
appreciate
stung.
it. Speaking
Hockey
about
stings.
stinging,
It
so
stings
does
to win, Tony. It stings to win.
so also tomorrow's show will sting too because it's WTF day. We appreciate
Ah,
you tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe to our Lockdown Golden Knights YouTube channel. For my man Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on Lockdown Golden Knights, and please take care.